Live from multiple locations via the miracle of Skype, it's the LTN Hour. Let's talk NASCAR with your host, Todd Bailing. Featuring Dangerous Dan Margetta and Brian Schmidt. LTN is a caller-driven program, and your participation is encouraged by calling 414-421-7901. That's 414-421-7901. Now, the creator and host of the fastest hour in radio, Todd Bailing.
It absolutely blows me away how fast the racing season blows by us. I just went over and looked at my first page of notes to start the season off, and you just can't believe some of the things that are in there. And it seems like it was just yesterday, and our season has come to a conclusion. And how about Ryan Blaney winning the championship last week? You guys were able to see Ryan Blaney's first championship right here in Phoenix, Arizona. And I think that he was a very, very popular champion. I'm Todd Bailing. I'm in Phoenix, and I'm joined by my three partners who are all enjoying the balmy Wisconsin weather, starting with Dan Margetta, who's in St. Francis. How you doing, man?
Pretty good. It was fun being out in Phoenix in the nice weather and seeing a pretty darn good race, I thought. And yeah, Blaney was a popular champion. And for the first time in this knockout format, the race winner was not the champion when Ross Chastain got the win and raced the championship guys hard.
And Brian Schmidt of Utzberg, Wisconsin. Hi.
Yeah, I agree. That was a heck of a race. I mean, it even got a little dicey there second half of the race where Ryan's right behind Ross and he gives Ross a shot in the shorts and everybody's like, whoa. Easy there, buddy. You're not racing him, and it was pretty entertaining to say the least. And that was cool for Ryan Blaney. As much of a Kyle Larson fan as I was after that last restart there, you just knew Kyle didn't quite have it, and Ryan raced his way to it, and deserving champion he was, winning the last two races of the year.
PJ Noodleman of Trempealeau, Wisconsin. Hi, PJ.
Hey, I'm pretty happy because I had Ryan Blaney in my Final Four pick from way back when.
Yeah, the only one of the four of us that even had him in the Final Four, I think. So, yeah, okay. The new one. I would call you the new guy, but I don't suppose you're the guy. But congratulations. You're the closest one of us to getting it right. Well,
I got something to hang my hat on.
It's okay. It's all good. Take it. What's there, claim it. The race itself, I thought was a pretty good race. And, I'm a Ross Chastain fan, and I kind of, I like his style. I realize that he rubs people the wrong way in many cases. And boy, oh boy, speaking of rubbing the wrong way, Blaney, different quotes. He's a piece of S. This is while he's following him now. The other one was, he's an air blocking MFer. Really? You know what? It's not like Ross Chastain is the one that made up these rules, these aero rules for cup cars. You want to win a race, you don't have a hell of a lot of choice how you have to drive. I've always been a fan of the fact that at Berlin Raceway there in Marne, Michigan, they don't have mirrors or spotters, and the racing is completely different. But that has nothing to do with this. You're just racing. He didn't write the rules. He just raced with them, and Chastain did a hell of a job. Agree?
Yeah, I agree. I think it's important he still raced to win it. The goal is still to win the race. I guess the championship is the overall goal, but the race is still something that you should strive for. And if you're not racing for the championship, why are you there? You got to win the race, and good for him. There's always going to be guys that are hard to pass. And we started with Dave Marcus and went to Ryan Newman. Now we got Ross Chastain, and that's great. Good for him.
And Ross was quick to point out that last year, when the roles were reversed, Ross was in the Final Four. Joey Logano was leading the race. Ryan Blaney was running second. And Ross was trying his butt off to get by Ryan Blaney, and Blaney wouldn't let him pass him, obviously, protecting Logano from him getting up there. So, it was kind of somewhat like the roles were reversed this year, and Ross was like, no, he didn't move over for me last year. I certainly wasn't going to move over for him this year. And that's what it was. My job, he says, is still to win the race. And he did, even though NBC completely forgot the fact that he won the race.
Oh, that was shameful. PJ, I sure am glad you got the video that they never showed on television. Apparently, they were in different corners of the track.
Yeah, it's sad. I felt bad for him that he wasn't getting his due, but that's usually how it is at Phoenix for the championship. Whoever ends up with the championship gets all the attention, and if it's a different race winner than the champion, they kind of get tossed aside.
Doesn't fit the narrative. It's not just good for politics, it's good for sports too. You had the picture of him getting up on top of the car with a watermelon and smashing it on the track. How did that go over with the crowd?
They were wild. You couldn't hear it because I was up in a suite, so I didn't have all that ambient sound out there, but you could hear it through the glass. People were just screaming and cheering for him. He's kind of the people's guy, He's a regular ham and egger. He's a farmer. So,
after the greatest move in the history of NASCAR, he's got a lot more fans,
Yeah, we saw our seats were just past the start-finish line, so Ryan Blaney was doing his whole deal over there, and Ross was spinning donuts over there, and then NASCAR told Ross to go over into the middle of 3 and 4 to do his deal, and he went over there, and I think the fans weren't at first realizing that's where he was, and he went over there and he got out, and one of his crew guys ran across with a watermelon that he says has been sitting in his hauler since he last won in Nashville, and then he did the whole smashing thing, and you could hear the crowd cheering way over there, but NBC didn't send anybody over there. They got 3 or 4 pit reporters, and they didn't bother to send anybody over there to even talk to him. And it was strange. And even after the race, we went down into the infield, and we were by the championship celebration, and then we went over into the Cup victory lane. And Dan, right, we turned around and looked. There's 4 photographers there. That was it.
Yeah, there wasn't many people there, and Ross was standing there like, this guy just won the race, man. I mean, he's at least got to cover that and give it some kind of credibility. I mean,
no, Dan. Apparently, you're kind of too old school here. We don't follow what we didn't promote all week long. Come see, possibility of Ross Chastain winning the race. No, you didn't even realize there were 32 other drivers in the damn thing.
This has never happened since we went to this format. So that's the thing. These reporters, and think about the longevity of a lot of these people in this sport now. I mean, how many of them were around before 2014? Probably few, if any of them. So they're like, what do we do? I mean, we went to both. I got pictures from both victory lanes, but it just slipped their mind in there. How could this possibly happen? That there could be, the champion didn't win the race. Well, you knew sooner or later it was going to happen, and Ross was the perfect person for it because he wasn't pulling over for nobody.
I agree with that. It's just a shame that NBC had the priorities they did. That's all it was. They didn't really care about anyone other than the big...
One final note on Ryan Blaney, though. It was pretty cool that Jody Deary was on his car.
What that?
Yeah, that was pretty cool. So it's kind of a nice way for a final send-off for Rockford Speedway for their 76 years and to have Jody Deary make it through to the championship with Ryan Blaney.
And the diecast that will forever be the championship car will have her name on it.
How about that?
That's pretty cool, I think. The racing at Phoenix, as far as I'm concerned, is lacking when you compare it to Homestead, where they've had championship races in the past. It's just this aero thing is just not good for this type of racing. Now, they're going to have a test here on December 5th and 6th. As a matter of fact, the only announced driver for the test is Corey LaJoie so far. I don't know what that's about exactly, but there was Christopher Bell said, quote, they're looking for a Band-Aid for gutless engines. That's pretty much what it is. This is all going to be determined by aerodynamics rather than giving cars more horsepower. Across the board, if you ask the drivers what the problem is, they tell you the same thing. They just don't have enough horsepower. So here we go. And instead of increasing horsepower, they reduce downforce, gives them less grip, and supposedly makes the racing better, when actually the real thing they're trying to eliminate is this aero thing that they've been trying. They changed the whole car to try and eliminate that, and they still can't. And why is that?
They got to stop shifting. I mean, that's the biggest thing.
Yeah.
Right? Oval track cars shouldn't be shifting. Indy cars do that. The Xfinity cars, the trucks, they don't shift. But these Cup cars, I mean, I was told at Richmond they shifted 5 times a lap.
That's ridiculous. We're glad you're tuned in. We got lots more. Hang in there.
After a 5-4 overtime win Saturday in Texas, the Milwaukee Admirals look for a winning streak as they travel to Rockford Friday night.
Oh, the hands are beautiful, like one's on a clock, and backhands it high into the goal.
Pre-game coverage begins at 6:30. Face-off is at 7 on the Big 920 and your iHeartRadio app.
From racing engines to street engines, long blocks to turnkey packages, or complete custom engines, just ask and Wagner Automotive can fill your needs. All backed by many years of racing experience. These years of experience have provided reliability and performance that customers need to win races. Wagner's has been building championship winning engines for top teams from NASCAR to short tracks in your backyard. This expertise has carried over to street engines they supply to top custom car builders. The Wagner Company in the heart of Wisconsin is outfitted with the state-of-the-art machinery necessary to design, manufacture, build, and test custom engines and their accessory parts. Dyno services are independently available for anyone needed to test their engine. Wagner's Company can also provide you or your company with production CNC machining or welding services. All your questions and requests are handled personally by Casey Wagner. Just give us a call at 920-394-3557 or visit our website at wagnerautomotive.com. Fall has arrived, but there's still time to get your landscaping complete before the snow flies. And PMF Landscape Supply in West Bend has everything you need with fresh mulch arriving daily. From premium hardwood mulch to hemlock and pine bark to EnviroMulch in red, gold, chocolate brown, and black colors. PMF also has a large variety of decorative stone and granite, as well as field stone, topsoil, and compost. For all your landscaping needs, visit PMF Landscape Supply, 5470 River Road in West Bend. Call 262-338-8800 or visit pmflandscape.com. Friends of racing for many years. PMF Landscape Supply in West Bend.
A much-needed win. Next up, it's a trip to Pittsburgh and a matchup with the Steelers Sunday. We get you ready with Packers game day at 8 a.m. Kickoff at noon.
My goodness, what a play!
On the flagship of the Green Bay Packers. 97.3 The Game.
You know, our friend and longtime co-host Ed Kaluka used to tell me that we don't want to be the purveyors of anything negative about NASCAR, because every once in a while I would come up with a note about, my God, the television ratings are in the toilet compared to years past. Well, you don't want to talk about that, he would say. Why show the downside of our sport? Well, things have kind of changed a little bit. First of all, if you look at the pure television ratings, it is true that they're down across the board ratings-wise from where they had been. All right. Now, compared to last season in particular. And so they keep going down, or so it seems. Now, you realize that right now we are at the tail end of a 10-year television contract, which is drawing to a close. Next year will be the last year of that TV contract, and they are already negotiating a new contract. And you know, just to look at ratings, you would say to yourself, well, they certainly aren't going to get as much money for the races from the networks. In fact, why would networks even be interested in coming back and spending the kind of money it takes to do a good production? Because the ratings are down. Well, this is a new era we are in, folks. This is kind of uncharted territory, and no one expected the overall long-term effect that streaming has on the viewership of not just NASCAR, of everything that is viewable, including other sports, other shows, movies. All of that is available on streaming. And streaming is not included in what you have been looking at in the TV ratings. The people, I'm not even sure that the viewership, which is what you got to call it, not TV ratings, the overall viewership is down that much. As a matter of fact, you know, there are places, you can't go places without having to watch it on streaming. How do they measure streaming? Do any of you know?
I don't know. That's one of those interesting things that I haven't been able to figure it out. I mean, I was a Nielsen household for many years, back in the late 2007 through maybe 2012 when they put all that equipment in my house, and it was kind of measured. But I'm not sure, and that's the thing I think we have to look at. And obviously, I think there's certain parts of this sport where they know that that's not the case because you have different sponsors coming in. But then there's the media that's pushing the narrative that, the viewership is down and nobody's watching this stuff, and it's down many people. I mean, I just take for example us last weekend. We were in Phoenix for the weekend, and that house had 2 TVs in it, but they were entirely internet type TVs. So they're not connected to any antenna or anything like that. Then yesterday I'm at my in-laws' house, same thing. They don't have a TV that's connected to a cable or direct TV or any of that type of stuff. So that's a small sample size of 2 places I went to where I had to stream whatever I watched. I watched that terrible Badger.
Antenna.
Yeah, I mean, I watched that terrible Badger game yesterday off my phone. That's not being viewed. I'm not watching that through FS1 on my direct TV service. So I don't know exactly where these numbers are and how accurate these numbers really are as to how many people are viewing this sport.
Well, and allegedly, Nielsen is actually doing streaming ratings. I was just looking this up.
Wow.
They apparently do streaming platform ratings, but I don't know how integrative that is or if those ratings were available to whoever put this piece together, because with Nielsen, you have to pay for those.
And how would they my question would be, how would they do that? So like in my house, when I had it, it was all 3 TVs that I have in my house were hooked up to their Nielsen system. But how would they do that for a wireless person? Because, I mean, there's devices everywhere. Every person in my family has a phone. We got laptops. We got desktops. You got smart TVs. You got all this stuff. How would they be able to capture that number and know when you're watching that?
Agreed. And they don't go into the detail either as to how they do that.
Hey,
honestly,
remember the books?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Those. Go ahead.
But the streaming platforms itself would almost need to be monitored by the person who's putting that information out there, which there again, do you want NASCAR to be able to tell you what their numbers are, or do you want a non-biased person to tell you what the numbers are?
And I'd wonder too, because look at these races, attendance is up. So if ratings are down, why is attendance up? And that you got to look at that and figure out, something's got to be going on here, because if it was that bad, no one would be going to these races. But, Phoenix was sold out, and the races we've been through have been pretty close to solid, so they've been pretty good that way. And if you look at the ratings, they listed all the motorsports events for the year, and the highest watched one was the Daytona 500. The third most one was the Chicago Street Race, which is one Fox, one NBC. But if you look overall, the ratings for Fox were better than NBC. I mean, NBC's races didn't do as well as the Fox races.
Is it really the announcing team there? Come on.
Or is it that Fox is on, other than the network, is on FS1, which is a sports network. NBC's on USA, which is known for sappy movies and stuff like that, and reruns of NCI.
It's a lot easier to find the races when Fox is carrying it.
True, but isn't it just a channel? I mean, I'm not sure that's real race fans know where to find it, right?
And if they are grasping some of the streaming stuff, I'll tell you, like when a Cup race is on USA, you can't find it on Peacock, which is also a real pain. Several times there's been a race that's been on USA, and I'm leaving and I'll go to Peacock to try to catch it, and it's not on there. And Peacock is a real pain to try to navigate and find what you're looking for on there. They'll put the post race on there, but they won't put the actual race on there, which is really strange. How that whole I don't think NBC is the best service for NASCAR. Just my opinion. I don't like the direction that they're going with how they cover the sport. It's not been real user friendly compared to Fox. I mean, Fox, every day you have the Race Hub, to keep you up. When NBC lost their sports network, they quit having their thing that was on there, every day with Junior and Kyle Petty and those guys. So I don't know. I sure hope NBC is out of this once they renegotiate their contract. I think it'd be the best for NASCAR.
A good test is coming because, as we reported earlier this year, the Xfinity Series is going to be on the CW network.
In 25.
Not this coming year when the new contract starts. So to be able to watch that's a television network. It is an antenna network. You should be able to get it in a city near you. What is it in Milwaukee? Anyway, 18?
I think it's channel 18 in Milwaukee. And their guys said they're going to make that Xfinity Series their main sports property. I mean, they're going to push everything over that. So that's going to be the top sports they're going to cover.
Are they going to have a streaming service for people to be able to watch when you're on the move?
That's the next question, right?
I don't know. And then one other thing with the Xfinity races, the highest Xfinity race was Daytona in February. The second was Michigan. The third highest watched race was Road America in July.
Boom.
And they all were on par with the F1 race in Miami, which was their highest watch race.
so many different factors that go into it. I just think that the ratings aren't as bad as we all are led to believe. There are still eyes on our sport. We'll be back.
As a growing manufacturing company, we needed security solutions. We chose Bonafide because of the services they offer, pricing, and trusted reputation. But it's their outstanding service and support that convinced us we made the right choice with Bonafide.
When businesses need security, they contact Bonafide Security Solutions. From locks and alarms to safes and surveillance, we do it all. We are Bonafide. We protect what you value. For your free security survey, call us today or visit BonafideSafe.com.
Miller Sales and Service is the Midwest's #1 Bravo trailer dealer for customer service and satisfaction. Serving the area since 1939, Miller's is located on the corner of Highway 57 and K in Random Lake. As the Midwest's #1 Bravo trailer dealer, Miller's has all kinds of Bravo trailers from 8 feet to 48 feet in stock. They also have a selection of B&B utility and dump trailers, reliable and Chilton open aluminum and steel trailers. With over 50 pre-owned low-mileage cars, trucks, and SUVs, Miller's has just the vehicle you are looking for. Miller's also carries a full line of Alumacraft boats and Manitou pontoon boats, complete with Evinrude outboards. Why not buy from racers who know what racers want and need? With Miller's Sales and Service on the corner of Highway 57 and K in Random Lake. Call Jerry, Tom, or Brad Miller today at 920-994-4358. That's Miller's Sales and Service, 920-994-4358.
Kevin Harlan here from Monday Night Football on Westwood One. This week, Josh Allen and the Bills meet the Broncos. Buffalo needs a win following last week's loss at the Bengals. Quarterback Russell Wilson and Denver are coming off a bye and a 2-game winning streak. Ross Tucker now have all the action of the Broncos at the Bills on Monday Night Football.
Coverage starts at 7 o'clock on Milwaukee's home for the NFL. 97.3, The Game.
A reminder that if you want to hear this LTN program on our download, it is available on iHeart and all major platforms. And yet, we are not the only download that is available from this program. Yes, our own PJ Noodleman has an outstanding program called Racing Nuggets, also available at all major platforms, including YouTube. Who is your latest guest, PJ?
The next guest, which will drop on Tuesday, is Kenny Schrader. And I'm pretty excited. It was a great interview. So, yeah, that'll be out on Tuesday.
Yeah, there's no downside when Schrader's involved. He's so hilarious.
He is, and his wife, Ann, even got involved. So that was kind of cool.
Really?
Yeah,
that's worth it right there. She's the brains of the family, clearly. So that's going to be a beautiful thing right there. There's tidbits that have been dropping about our sport right and left. One of them, Dan and Brian, I know you guys are going to the Daytona 500 this coming year, right?
You bet.
And you have tickets already?
Yep.
That's a pretty good thing because they are on the verge of selling out already. They announced they are 98% sold out. Folks, if you're actually thinking of going to Daytona and you don't have your tickets yet, I would encourage you, if there's still any involved, because available. This is the week that news came down, so it might have been sold out since then. I would get my plans in order.
And my guess would be the only seats that are available are the ones where you could, every now and then end up with a car in your lap. So you want to make sure you get decent seats there.
We waited a long time. We waited years, and we finally got ours up high and on an aisle, so we're not getting rid of them ever. Right?
Yeah, we're so high now we can see. I mean, the airplane touch the landing gear. So
there's
no car ending.
I know. I caught that right away, didn't you? coming from a legal state like Arizona, how high are you? A couple other things. Speaking of Arizona, that cluster that they called the Truck Championship race last week, that Corey Haim was just dialed out in a terrible manner by Carson Hocevar and came back later and then put Hocevar out of the race. Corey Haim, it was so obvious what happened there. Do you realize that happened 2 laps before the end of the quote-unquote race? That was 2 laps before the actual, what was supposed to be the end of the race, but the actual end of the race was until about 31 or 32 laps later, believe it or not.
And Grant Enfinger was coming, so he is justly perturbed immensely at Corey Heim for that.
Well, yeah. On the other hand, a lot of people were pretty happy with Corey Heim for actually getting, what does Bickle call him? Wreck my car. Hocevar, wreck my car.
Crash my car.
Crash my car. That's it. So Corey Heim got fined this week. What you might think is a paltry $12,500, but the Truck Series, keeping in mind, doesn't have anywhere near the purses, that not just nowhere near, maybe 10% of the purse of a Cup race. So he got fined the 25 points, which really took him from, where did he end up in the points? Second or
fourth?
No, I mean before the fine.
Oh, he would have been, I think, third probably. Yeah.
Oh, well, he lost 1 position. Who gives a rat's? You think about it. Nobody says, "Oh yeah, okay, that guy won a championship." But who was second? Really? When was the last time somebody said that? Never. The answer is
that compared to other penalties. Kenseth got 2 weeks off, and earlier got a week off, and Chase Elliott got a week off for doing things on purpose. Now, he didn't come out and admit he did it on purpose, but 12-5 and be able to race the first race next year.
Matt Kenseth didn't admit he did it on purpose either, except for that line, sometimes you're the cue and sometimes you're the ball. I would say that because it was 2 people in the exact same position fighting for a championship. They were in the final 4. Remember, Kenseth was a lap down. These 2 were racing together when both of their issues happened, and they were both in the championship where Matt was was he eliminated at that point?
Yeah. If you look at Kenseth, it was a couple of weeks in the making. He had to win Kansas to stay in the fight. And Joey Logano didn't, and Joey took him out at Kansas, which made Matt mad. And then he kind of bragged about it all week long and never really was apologetic.
That was the real kicker right there.
But then he went to Talladega, and towards the end of that race, Kevin Harvick was in danger of falling out of the chase, and he caused his own caution to end the race. He took out Trevor Bayne, and they let that go. And then he got to Martinsville, and then the 2 and the 22, Kozlowski and Logano were playing the games in the restart, and they're doing it all race, and finally their game plan took out Kenseth, and I think that's what pushed it completely over the edge.
Yeah. Well, this is the thing that ticks so many people off, because NASCAR is such a subjective sport when it comes to those types of rulings. They are the decision makers and the final.
And inconsistent in their rulings. And I think, if you do it once one way, you better do it that way from now on, or it looks as though you're manipulating. NASCAR doesn't like other people to manipulate their races. They want to manipulate their own races. Unfortunately. So how the hell do you remember all those details, Dan?
I remember all that because, the Talladega thing made everybody mad because he took Trevor Bayne out, and Trevor, one of the guys that he picked somebody who wasn't going to retaliate. I knew guys in the Trevor Bayne crew that were mad about that. And apparently every week after that, they picked the pit right next to Harvick purposely for him to get in his way, and he just never really did it.
Good God. Just remembering all of that, just kind of, yes, now that you say that, I remember that part, but the fact that all 3 of those races were in the playoffs that year and you remember them so clearly, it just blows me away. Either way, so that kind of fell down this week. We know that Kevin Harvick ran his last race last week and has his notable career driving has come to an end, at least in the Cup Series. He has already announced that he plans to continue racing. He owns a super late model, and he's going to have a couple different drivers in it. And of course, it seems like he still has a pretty good relationship with Stewart-Haas Racing, because his 2 drivers are both employed at Stewart-Haas. First of all, Josh Berry, who is taking Harvick's place in the 4-car. Is he driving that car this weekend?
He drove the late model stock car at Hickory last night.
Late model. How did he do anyway?
Finished 3rd.
Okay. That is Harvick's car, but he also owns a super late, which apparently Josh Berry is going to drive. in one or two upcoming events. And Ryan Preece, another Stewart-Haas driver, is going to drive the car at the Snowball Derby, which, of course, our own PJ Noodleman will be there reporting that weekend. What I liked is hearing Harvick say there are plenty of Tuesday night races in a super late model across this country that I would be interested in racing in. Well, we have two pretty prolific Tuesday night races in the state of Wisconsin. And boy, who wouldn't like to see Kevin Harvick race in the Slinger Nationals? I mean, come on. We'll be right back.
After a 5-4 overtime win Saturday in Texas, the Milwaukee Admirals look for a winning streak as they travel to Rockford Friday night.
Oh, the hands are beautiful, like one's on a clock, and backhands it high into the goal.
Pre-game coverage begins at 6:30. Face-off is at 7 on the Big 920 and your iHeartRadio app.
As a growing manufacturing company, we needed security solutions. We chose Bonafide because of the services they offer, pricing, and trusted reputation. But it's their outstanding service and support that convinced us we made the right choice with Bonafide.
When businesses need security, they contact Bonafide Security Solutions. From locks and alarms to safes and surveillance, we do it all. We are Bonafide. We protect what you value. For your free security survey, call us today or visit bonafidesafe.com.
Fall has arrived, but there's still time to get your landscaping complete before the snow flies. And PMF Landscape Supply in West Bend has everything you need with fresh mulch arriving daily. From premium hardwood mulch to hemlock and pine bark to EnviroMulch in red, gold, chocolate brown, and black colors. PMF also has a large variety of decorative stone and granite, as well as field stone, topsoil, and compost. For all your landscaping needs, visit PMF Landscape Supply, 5470 River Road in West Bend. Call 262-338-8800 or visit pmflandscape.com. Friends of racing for many years. PMF Landscape Supply in West Bend.
Brian Radke here from Sunday Night Football on Westwood One. Coming up Sunday in prime time, the Raiders host the New York Jets. Zach Wilson and the Jets will look to avoid a second straight primetime loss after falling to the Chargers on Monday night. They'll meet a Raiders team looking for a second straight win under new head coach Antonio Pierce. Join Mike Golick and me for all the action from Las Vegas on Sunday Night Football.
After the Packers, coverage starts at 6:30 on Milwaukee's home for the NFL. 97.3 The Game.
Welcome back. Glad you're joining us for this first race of the long, slow, painful off season. Okay, it's not all that long, really. The shortest off season in any major sport, as we'll be back in how many weeks is it to the Busch Clash? Not that long, 13, I think. So yeah, kind of a short off season. I kind of like that. The NASCAR lost
84 days to the Busch Clash.
84.
Dang. You're good at math, Brian.
Brian's counting.
He's looking at days, and I'm thinking, let's divide by 7, and what the hell, how many weeks is that? We lost a former car owner this week. Newer, I would say, followers of our sport may not remember the name Leo Jackson. Leo, along with his brother Richard, were the owners of the number 33 Cup car, which was sponsored by Skoal, called the Skoal Bandit, driven by Harry Gant and crew chiefed by Andy Petrie. Never won a championship. I think as Harry finished second more than like any driver in history or something like that. And I think that's what happened with the Skoal Bandit. But Leo Jackson passed away this week, and he was pretty prolific in our sport for a long time. And not much has been written or posted about it, which I think is almost unusual at this point. But the repave job at North Wilkesboro is, quote, well underway. We knew this was going to happen. That was one of two tracks that's being redone, the other one being California, which apparently they're still in the destruction portion of that rebuild. It's as limited a calendar as the North Wilkesboro Speedway will have. The fact that they're putting this much money into it is, well, I'd say it was surprising, but I think they ended up with $18 million of tax money to bring that place back to racing standards. when I read about this repave, I couldn't help but think of my old friend, Hall of Famer Johnny Reiser. He was the guy at Roush Racing that was in charge of the Gong Show. And if you'll remember, again, newer listeners may not know what that Gong Show was all about. It was the Roush's way of assigning drivers with some ability to a contract to drive for Roush, and they would provide a car for them. And when they got to a certain, it was obvious they were good enough at this level, they would give them another shot at a higher level. And it all worked because sponsorship was much easier to find back in those days, and it didn't require a driver having to come in with money running out of his pockets. So here we have the Gong Show, and Johnny Reiser ran that Gong Show, and it was decided, and I'm not sure who made the decision, that they were going to do the Gong Show at North Wilkesboro, which hadn't been used for several years at that point. And it was Johnny's job to go up there and get the place ready to race. And they had to cut trees down that had grown up through the asphalt to get that place into decent racing condition again. And they had a couple of Gong Shows there. I could ask Dan, and I didn't give him any warning on this. I'll bet you could tell us one or two drivers that survived the North Wilkesboro Gong Show.
Was Kurt Busch one of them?
I don't think so. I think he was before that. I'm not sure. What about that Hausfeld dude? Was he?
He did trucks for a while for him.
Yeah, but I think that. And what about Todd Cleaver?
Cleaver ran, but Hosley and Hausfeld were on the trucks together, weren't they? Nate Hosley and Chuck.
Oh yeah, Hosley. That's right. And of course, Hosley. You know, there was good news and bad news. They didn't really have enough cars to go around, enough opportunities within Roush Racing to go around, but they had drivers under contract, so they had to pay them even if they didn't, race anywhere. So I know that Hosley was in that situation for a while where he wasn't racing but was drawing a paycheck every week, which is kind of weird in a way. But and finally they just had the sport evolved into, we don't care what kind of talent you have, what's your wallet look like. And the combination of decent talent with enough money to buy a ride is what the combination is to this day, unfortunately. So at least in many circumstances, I'm happy to say Tony Stewart, along with a co-owner who has so much money, he's the one with the money running out of his pockets.
Did you realize this year, speaking of Stewart, that this is the first time since Stewart came on board in that team that they went winless?
Oh, that's a hard.
It's also the first year that Tony Stewart hasn't been very involved either.
Well, isn't it his first year he's been married and have other things on his mind, including, flatline racing, straight line racing?
He'll get real mad if you say that. I mean, he claims he's still part of it.
Well, I'm sure he is, but I think his presence and his daily conversations with a lot of people are what helped keep that organization solid. I think when you're not there every single day and doing all the things that you have done to kind of help keep things afloat, it does kind of slip a little bit. I'm not saying he's not involved at all. I don't think he was been involved to the level at which he had been in the past, and I think his presence was sorely missed.
And it's not like he's not a busy guy. I mean, look at what Tony Stewart has for responsibilities, what with owning racetracks, teams, across different sports. He's got a new wife that, by the way, there's always her. And speaking of, by the way, and he lives out in Arizona, too. So to do all of this, I guess he would have to have counted on Joe Custer to really keep that whole NASCAR team afloat, and apparently that plan didn't work out too good, did it?
Well, I'm sure he did as good of a job as he can, but to not sound rude, Joe Custer is no Tony Stewart, right?
Mm-hmm. Good. Who came up with the idea to take Cole Custer out of that car and put Ryan Preece in it? And how hard was it to convince Joe? Because I have a pretty good suspicion it wasn't dear old Dad that decided that. You guys, we have never heard that, have we?
I thought it was pretty high. I thought Stewart was pretty high on Priest when he was available because he was doing okay in that JTG Doherty car.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And again, I don't think that I'm not saying that I'm like best of friends with Cole Custer, but he's a very down to earth kind of guy. And, I think he did a fine job and didn't whine about it. Brian, you've said this before. He just kept his head down and did his job when he went back to the Xfinity Series. And to me, that says a lot about somebody, too. So as much as he has the connections with his dad at Stewart-Haas, I don't think that he is leaning on that as much. And I think he appreciates it and respects that.
Good point. All the way around. Interesting stuff. We've got some results for you. And how about this? We've got some other news regarding short tracks. We'll be right back.
A much-needed win. Next up, it's a trip to Pittsburgh and a matchup with the Steelers Sunday. We get you ready with Packers game day at 8 a.m. Kickoff at noon.
My goodness, what a play!
On the flagship of the Green Bay Packers. 97.3 The Game.
Miller Sales and Service is the Midwest's #1 Bravo trailer dealer for customer service and satisfaction. Serving the area since 1939, Miller's is located on the corner of Highway 57 and K in Random Lake. As the Midwest's #1 Bravo trailer dealer, Miller's has all kinds of Bravo trailers from 8 feet to 48 feet in stock. They also have a selection of B&B utility and dump trailers, reliable and Chilton open aluminum and steel trailers. With over 50 pre-owned low-mileage cars, trucks, and SUVs, Miller's has just the vehicle you are looking for. Miller's also carries a full line of Alumacraft boats and Manitou pontoon boats, complete with Evinrude outboards. Why not buy from racers who know what racers want and need? With Miller's Sales and Service on the corner of Highway 57 and K in Random Lake. Call Jerry, Tom, or Brad Miller today at 920-994-4358. That's Miller's Sales and Service, 920-994-4358.
From racing engines to street engines, long blocks to turnkey packages, or complete custom engines, just ask and Wagner Automotive can fill your needs. All backed by many years of racing experience. These years of experience have provided reliability and performance that customers need to win races. Wagner's has been building championship winning engines for top teams from NASCAR to short tracks in your backyard. This expertise has carried over to street engines they supply to top custom car builders. The Wagner Company, in the heart of Wisconsin, is outfitted with the state-of-the-art machinery necessary to design, manufacture, build, and test custom engines and their accessory parts. Dyno services are independently available for anyone needed to test their engine. Wagner's Company can also provide you or your company with production CNC machining or welding services. All your questions and requests are handled personally by Casey Wagner. Just give us a call at 920-394-3557 or visit our website at WagnerAutomotive.com.
This is Two Pros and a Cup of Joe.
Justin Fields had a hell of a first half, but yeah, the late turnovers, the fumble, the interception, I don't know what the plan is moving forward. Look, the good news is they've got the #1 and #2 pick in the draft next year as it stands right now.
Two Pros, LeVar Arrington, Brady Quinn, and a Cup of Joe, Jonas Knox.
Weekday mornings 5 to 8 on the Big 920 and your iHeartRadio app.
And now the LTN Hour presents Dirt on the Dirt with Brian Schmidt.
Pretty sparse list of dirt racing we have this week. The big race this weekend was supposed to be down in Senoia, Georgia for the Castro Flow Racing Night in America Championship. Supposed to pay $50,000 to win, but it rained. So they canceled that. And Bobby Pierce was awarded the championship there, being the point leader going into it. Did have some racing Thursday night out in Las Vegas, Nevada, week number 2 of the Duel in the Desert. The USRA Modifieds take center stage. They had a preliminary feature winner, and Jake O'Neill won that, and the late models were out there, kind of a limited late model type thing out there. Colin Weinbarger was your winner. They did it again Friday night, night number 2. The feature winner was Ricky Alvarado in the modifieds, and the late model winner was Colin Weinbarger again. Also out in Casa Grande, Arizona, the Central Arizona Speedway, the ASCS 360 Sprints were there. Terry McCarl was your winner. In Pocola, Oklahoma, the Tri-State Speedway for the Power Eye 410 Wing Sprint Car Series, San Hapertief Jr. was your winner there Friday night. Saturday night, the finale at Las Vegas for the Duel in the Desert for the USRA Modifieds. $7,777 to win. Lance Mari was your winner. And the late models, Colin Weinberger made it a sweep, winning all 3 nights there. Casa Grande Night 2 for the ASA CS360 Sprints. Dominic Selzy was your winner. Paris, California, the USAC CRA National Non-Wing Sprints. CJ Leary grabbed the win. Finally, in Pocola, Oklahoma, the final night for the Power Eye 410 Sprints. Aaron Reitzel grabbed the feature win there. And that is everything for a limited amount of racing this week.
Limited amount of racing as well, too. On the asphalt side, the ASA Stars National Tour ran at Nashville for the All-American 400. William Suwalowicz was your winner. Ty Majeski, the champion in that inaugural season. Fans were pretty much robbed of a great race, though. Cole Butcher had some early on problems with the tire going down. And then we got back into the race and ended up getting into the back end of another car that missed the shift on a restart. Ended up puking fluids all over turn 1 through turn 2 in the racing groove. No caution was thrown.
Oh,
and the entire field charging back around and into turn 1 and 2 ended up wiping out the top 7 to 8 cars. They were just destroyed. Majeski was leading at the time. Stephen Nassy caught up in that. Bubba Pollard, Jeremy Doss, Gio Ruggiero, Jake Garcia, Chase Berta, and Jordan Riddick were all just demolished. Suffered.
Doss hauled that car all the way from California just to race in that thing. Hey, congratulations.
Yep, bring it home in a bucket. Everybody suffered severe damage, race ending for many of those names that I mentioned. That was kind of dramatic, though, because they had to red flag it there for a while. And they had, obviously, the championship battle was between Cole Butcher and Ty Majeski. And Butcher is part of the Donnie Wilson team, so there was like 20 guys from all 3 of the teams coming in there trying to get it back up and running. And I felt kind of bad for my husband, Toby, working on that car. And I know everybody seems to think Ty's got the money, but man, they're kind of a little rick-rack team there together. So they had like 4 guys working on it, but then Anthony Campy's team and that Michael Hine team came down and they were all helping out. And
I saw that's fantastic.
Yeah.
They really did get that car back out, and he won a championship.
He did. Ended up finishing 11th, limping it around. But boy, the ASA Stars National Tour has got a lot of PR challenges ahead of them as they want to come back for another season. So we'll see what happens with that as the off-season continues. Today, though, at New Smyrna Speedway, the Governor's Cup will be taking place. Qualifying will start at noon Central today, and some big names in that one as well, too. So we'll see how that... it'll be streamed on Flow Racing.
Oh, okay. Very good. Interesting. Ty Majeski, by winning the championship, won a check for $25,000. Now you gotta look at a couple of things here. This was the first year that they worked hard and put that tour together and came up with a $25,000 for the champion. Many times, and I have my dirt friends, namely Ted Dolan, who will remind me of how paltry those numbers are compared to what a dirt race is in general. The purses, and we all realize that the purses aren't the same, and the reasons for that I don't totally understand. I realize sponsorship is a big part of it, but $25,000 is about half of what a dirt track race pays, isn't it, Brian?
Oh yeah, I mean this year the Lucas Oil Late Model Dirt Series champion took home $250, I believe. The World of Outlaw champion took $225. Now that is dramatically increased. I mean, just 3 short years ago, it was only $75,000 to win, so it is going up. A lot of it has to do with the streaming services with Flow and Dirt Vision, and there's a lot of money coming in that way. But I think that's where the Stars want to be, but it's going to take a long time to get there.
Yeah.
The World of Outlaws, if they lose a sponsor, they get one right away. A couple years ago, it was Morton Buildings was the late model sponsor. They lost that one. Right away, they went and grabbed Case Construction, and it just goes on and on. Craftsman did it a couple of years ago. They're going to try to keep getting title sponsors on the series. I think that's the key to that.
And there's a battle, too, with Carl Larson and his brother-in-law, Brad Sweet, just bought into another series, right, Brian?
Oh, yeah, High Limits. That's another big one that's going to be going on there. High Limits is going to pay $250,000 to its champion next year for a 410 wing sprint car. You race 30 less races than the World of Outlaws next year and will be competing for the same prize. And the High Limits is going to encourage their drivers to go and support the World of Outlaws when they are not racing, because the All-Stars Circuit of Champions is gone. It merged with the High Limits. High Limits had those 12 midweek races. They're going to have a separate $100,000 point fund for the midweek races as well. So a lot of stuff going on there. Brad Sweet's going to do it. I mean, this is good for 410 sprint car racing. People in the World of Outlaws are a little on edge about it because they've been the only big 410 sprint car series in the country for years. All Stars was always considered second fiddle because they just ran around the Midwest. Not the case anymore. High Limits is going West Coast, East Coast, Florida, everywhere.
My goodness. We will take a break and be back with you. Hang in there with us.
A much-needed win. Next up, it's a trip to Pittsburgh and a matchup with the Steelers Sunday. We get you ready with Packers game day at 8 a.m. Kickoff at noon.
My goodness, what a play!
On the flagship of the Green Bay Packers. 97.3 The Game.
From racing engines to street engines, long blocks to turnkey packages, or complete custom engines, just ask and Wagner Automotive can fill your needs. All backed by many years of racing experience. These years of experience have provided reliability and performance that customers need to win races. Wagner's has been building championship-winning engines for top teams from NASCAR to short tracks in your backyard. This expertise has carried over to street engines they supply to top custom car builders. The Wagner Company in the heart of Wisconsin is outfitted with the state-of-the-art machinery necessary to design, manufacture, build, and test custom engines and their accessory parts. Dyno services are independently available for anyone needed to test their engine. Wagner's Company can also provide you or your company with production CNC machining or welding services. All your questions and requests are handled personally by Casey Wagner. Just give us a call at 920-394-3557 or visit our website at WagnerAutomotive.com. Fall has arrived, but there's still time to get your landscaping complete before the snow flies. And PMF Landscape Supply in West Bend has everything you need with fresh mulch arriving daily. From premium hardwood mulch to hemlock and pine bark to EnviroMulch in red, gold, chocolate brown, and black colors. PMF also has a large variety of decorative stone and granite, as well as field stone, topsoil, and compost. For all your landscaping needs, visit PMF Landscape Supply, 5470 River Road in West Bend. Call 262-338-8800 or visit pmflandscape.com. Friends of racing for many years. PMF Landscape Supply in West Bend.
It's a bird. It's a plane.
The Dan Patrick Show.
Dan Patrick. Yeah!
You have an owner in Carolina, David Tepper. He's a billionaire. Well, they're smarter than us. They have $1 billion. Now, they might be smart in one facet, but that doesn't mean that they can run a football team. Or they can run a football team if they let others do their job.
The Dan Patrick Show.
Dan and the Danettes and you.
Weekday mornings 8 to 11 on the Big 920 and your iHeartRadio app.
Welcome back to the final segment of LTN. Dan, it has always been an issue, or at least back as far as I can remember, that the dirt purses are so much higher than paved track purses. Why is that?
And they've been there. I mean, they've been that way for a while, but they really took off, like Brian said, in the last 3 years. Brian, how much do they owe that to Kyle Larson and his tour through 2020, through all those dirt races where he had to do it out of necessity and he had all the media following, everything else? He kind of brought that up and brought it to the attention of some major sponsors, I think, and that's helped. I think the Stars, if they could get somebody similar on the asphalt side to do something like that, no one's going to do it unless they're forced to. But if they can get somebody that can run all those races to bring that kind of attention to it, they may have their purses go up too. But the dirt purses really, really skyrocketed in the last 3 years.
Oh, absolutely.
I was going to say that might be where Kevin Harvick is coming from, because Harvick, Earnhardt Jr., Jeff Burton, and Justin Marks all bought into the Cars tour.
And the COVID thing kind of put dirt on the front for everybody to see, because when everything else shut down, I mean, they were only down for maybe a month. And by late April, early May, they were going again. I mean, Dan and I went to a race Memorial Day weekend already that year, because some tracks were opening up, and they were realizing that with the streaming service thing, which was kind of just getting started before that, it really blew up then. And they were realizing they could still make money and put out money for these drivers who, I mean, most of these dirt late model guys, that's what they do for a living. So when they shut down, they had nothing coming in, and they were able to keep going here. And now you add the streaming money on top of getting butts in the seats. And some of these races are just, I mean, the crowds are incredible how big they can get them in there. That's why all this flux of money came in there, and sponsors are seeing that their product is getting out to people through the streaming service stuff. So I think that's why it blossomed up, and asphalt's just always been a little bit behind on that. And I know that's where Sargent wants to go with this, but it's just getting to that point is going to be the hard part.
Well, part of it, though, too, you mentioned Kyle Larson wants to work and allow and encourage drivers to go run the World of Outlaws. I think in the asphalt world, you've got two people vying for the throne instead of trying to work together as they are in the dirt world. You've got the SRL series and you've got the ASA Stars series. Those are both considered national tours, but they butt heads instead of working together and pulling the same direction and trying to make something big happen and play off of each other. Instead, they're playing against each other, and that's a huge part of the problem.
That's one thing you've always seen on the dirt late model side of thing with the World of Outlaws and the Lucas Oil. They've been able to coexist for all these years because they just don't fight with each other. And I mean, and they had a tire deal going on for a couple of years. I mean, this year they came together and they got the same tire. So you can have the same tire in your trailer to run either series. You can literally go from a Lucas race to an Outlaw race within a day and not have to change the way your tires or anything like that. And they realize that it works out that way. And drivers go to both. Why they can't figure that out on the sprint car side of thing, I don't know, because the Outlaws have always been the top dog and the only thing for all these years. Now they're finally getting competition, and you got powerful names involved in it. And I think that's why they're a little scared, which I think it's all going to be all right.
What happens now? They're saying they may run that high limit series and Lucas Oil late models together at a couple places this year, and maybe high limit over Lucas Oil in 25. I wonder how that'll go.
Yeah, I mean it's flow racing is such a powerful thing right now. I mean, it's when we talked about ratings earlier. I mean, it'd be interesting to see what they're able to pull and where their numbers come from and how they're able to do this, because it's just such a powerful platform right now for all forms of racing, but especially dirt racing, because that's where it got started. That, you know, having that and being on that platform is just so big. That's why Lucas and that's where the high limits is headed too. And that's where I think the World of Outlaws have their own thing with Dirt Vision. They're a little scared that maybe their numbers are going to drop a little bit now that you have this going on.
I don't know if anybody saw this, but SRX series, which has gone from Saturday nights on CBS to Thursday nights on ESPN, announced their schedule already. And the schedule is just the dates, not the tracks. So apparently, because iRacing just came out with a Slinger Speedway, what do you call that? Map?
The track, so you can race the track on their simulator.
That's pretty much what it is. There for one reason or another is some sort of rumor that Slinger's going to be back. Now, I don't think that there's much to the rumor myself, but that doesn't mean that it wouldn't happen. It's just that I just don't think that it's much to the rumor. I'm not. Apparently, iRacing put out some tweet that I missed, and I don't look at. What do you? If a tweet is to Twitter, what is a X post called?
Well, X is Twitter now.
Yeah, but you don't call them tweets anymore, right?
Basically, all they did is they announced that they're going to come out with a track, so iRacing members can now race at Slinger, which is they've been asking for a long time. That track's been scanned a while ago. Unlike the last time SRX rumor was out there, I knew it was coming. I don't know anything about this one, so I haven't heard anything at all if they're coming or not. Remember, Slinger, I don't know what their deal is with the town. I mean, it'll be a Thursday night now. They can run Tuesday night in the Nationals. They can run Sundays. I don't know if they'll let them run, a weekday night if that's something special they got to work out with the town. If that is the case, we'll have to see.
The Village of Slinger, yeah, they're funny about that. You got to make sure that everything goes according to plan. Haley Deegan, sounds as though they found a replacement for her, Dan, and it's kind of a up-and-coming name.
Everybody says look for Jake Garcia to go to ThorSport.
All right, so that's...
I bet that's right.
You're good. You got a future in this business. Thanks a lot for tuning in. We appreciate it. And we love it that you're downloading us at such an incredible rate. And keep listening, folks. We get some good stuff coming in the off season. For all of us involved, we appreciate the fact that you take a little time on your Sunday morning. And we all want you to remember that real race cars have doors, even if they do climb in through the windows. LTN is produced and directed by Dangerous Dan Margetta. our awesome engineers, Matt Losi, and for this team. Thanks for tuning in. We'll talk to you next week.
This program has come to you live from multiple locations via Skype. Any and all comments expressed on this show do not necessarily express the opinions of this station, its employees, or advertisers. Your comments are always welcome at mail@ltnradionetwork.com. Find us at facebook.com/LTN Radio Network. And thank you for your support since 1985. Tune in again next Sunday morning at 10 a.m. Central Time for the LTN Hour on the LTN Radio Network.